You're listening to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
What's out there? What creates the shadows in the corners or the creatures of the dark? Who are those on the other side? What do they have to say? This is the Gateway Podcast. This is not your normal style of paranormal talk radio. Brought to you live from United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM New Orleans.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday night edition of Into the Night with me, your host, Sean Kelly, and the continuation of Bigfoot Month continues. I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 Mississippi, 107.7 New Orleans, for allowing me to give you an hour on Sunday nights and Tuesday nights, 8:10 to 9:10 on this platform. Holly, good to see you, hon. And I also, the sponsor for this month is Runa. And this is her thing. She wanted me to say, come see Runa, the psychic medium and palm reader at Steel Goat Marketplace, Rhode Island Road, Penn Hills, PA. It's a great little gift shop. And they have beautiful plants and flowers at Garden Center. And don't forget Ladies' Night, first Thursday of the month from 5 to 8. And see Runa to get a reading. Oh, Donna, hi. Good to see you. Kurt, Squatsman, good to see you, sir. Wow, they're all popping in now, which is great, man. I love it. I love it. So my last show, I had Donna on. She's in the room tonight. And it was like really, really interesting having her on as a guest because I heard some amazing things that, I never thought of before, never heard. And it was an awesome show. And I will definitely have her on again. All right, KHR, good to see you, buddy. But tonight, I got to do. Hey, Mark Eddie, good to see you. All right, everybody. I forgot my dear friend, CL Thomas of the Gateway Podcast. She's on right after me at 9:10 p.m. And after my show, pop on over and check her show out. Heidi, hello, Sean. I'm having tech glitches, buffering often. Solar weather is crazy. Class flare earlier. Okay, hon. Just hang in there. We got you. But real quick, before I introduce my guest, Miss Heidi Gold, who's in the chat room now, not only is she a very, very dear friend, but she is a dear friend to all the hosts on UPRN. She goes out of her way to make sure that when we advertise our shows, that she gets them out. She's a really big, wonderful person out there trying to help UPRN and all the hosts out there. So everybody, please, if you can, give her a round of applause. Yay. Honest to gosh. Hey, Michael Anthony, good to see you, sir. Welcome to the chat. Well, tonight's guest, I've had them on before, and I do believe they are in Massachusetts. We'll learn a little bit more. And they're just very, very down to earth, good people, and they're also very good Bigfoot, hunters. I hate saying that word, hunters. I really do hate hunters. They do the thing, the paranormal with the Bigfoots. They go out looking for answers. But maybe we can get a little bit more when they're on. And without further ado, I'd love to get the Eric and Tim Vogel. Hey guys.
Hey,
Hello.
Hey, John.
It is so good to see you, man. How you been? What's going on?
Hi, people in the chat.
Yes.
We
Hello,
see
everyone.
it. We can't comment. We'll try to remember to talk to people in there, but I can't really do all that.
We've been staying busy.
That's staying busy.
Staying
I guess
busy,
I guess when the weather being really nice as it is, you're getting a lot of campers up there, huh?
Yeah, we're just getting into the start of it, so we're more or less prepping into it. We run year round, so winter, spring doesn't matter, but we take out more people in the summer.
Okay, now but see, to me, I don't know. Like I said before the show, I'm gonna have to go up there, and you're gonna have to take me up. You two, I would feel safe as hell. I mean, Heidi says hi, Tim and Eric. I'll put it up here. Can you see that when I put it up?
There you go.
There you go. Yep.
Hi, Heidi. She does that. I see her all over the place. She's helping out
She's a
everyone.
beautiful woman, man. She does a lot for UPR. Yes, she does. She's an amazing friend. But so what's been going on in Bigfoot situations up where you're at? What's anything new?
Bigfoot situations. Bigfoot situations. What's up? Nah, man, nothing. The typical, I would say, not much, which is the norm.
Yeah.
As far as Bigfoot, but we just finished doing a friend of ours, Terry Holland, is doing a documentary. He's a filmmaker, and he was up at the Dalton Library, and we just did a review with him. He brought his movie in, and it was a question and answer.
Yeah, it was a three-year movie in the making out in Colorado.
Wow. Bigfoot movie. So it's it's a documentary. He's been doing it for years, and so he asked, and we had done a talk up there, and it was like one of the first times the library is sold out, so to speak.
It was standing room only. There was over 60-something people in this little library.
It was pretty surreal to have that many people come to something and be interested in a subject that's out there. So
talk about Bigfoot.
Why do you think people are really, really interested in Bigfoot?
Oh yes.
Why?
I believe they're interested. Yeah.
I think the TV has brought the highlights up to it. It's made it more commonplace to talk about it, easier to talk about it.
It's more out there now. It's more acceptable.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a pop icon culture kind of thing. So it's out there. It's as far as like when we actually talk about Bigfoot and we're talking to the the fire chief or the police chief or this or that, they already know they've already dealt with us. So but they know we're serious and we're legit. It's not like a couple of clowns. Oh, there's the Bigfoot guys,
Oh no, yeah, they know the amount of time we put in.
And we're although if you can't take that, right? If you can't take, oh yeah, there goes those guys, then just turn around and go home because you're too thin skinned. It's not about
right.
You have to to be in this business. I think if it's a business and you want to do it seriously, you have to be honest and you have to own it.
Right.
And we have seen Bigfoot. Eric had a better vision than I did, but we've seen it. We've had numerous experiences, and it's there. It's simple as that. So we've gone from having to prove it. There's no way you're going to prove it.
No.
That's a given.
No,
So we come on places like this and share it and talk about it and other
we
experiences.
just tell our story, you know.
And people could do with it what they want.
But
Mhm.
when we went to the Dalton Library and we were doing the talk up there, Holland was sitting in the back, and when after it was over, he came up to us and he says, I can't believe the similarities between what you just talked about and what I just spent 3 years filming.
Wow,
He was based out of Colorado doing a documentary.
It was unbelievable.
Without getting into the nuts and bolts of it, he's out in Colorado, really
They're backcountry,
quality
you know,
stuff.
they're taking horses out back. They're gone
Yeah.
for a week at a time, maybe even longer.
They're out there, and
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 they're
Do you
filming the
take
whole.
horses out? Do you take horses out with you?
no,
No.
no,
No, not us. No.
I'd love to.
Yeah, it would be
I
cool.
could do it here, but
Right.
we just don't have the horses. There's little farms around and things like that. We just, I'd get on the gator instead of a horse.
Yeah, yeah.
I've had them sneak out of nearby farms, and I've had to walk them back or take them back, and things like that through the woods.
Yeah,
And
it'd be doable here for
Yeah.
sure.
we have 1,300 acres here. It's huge, and then it abuts the Cobble Mountain Reservoir, and then all these other state forests. So where we're located in Western Mass, it's a jewel. It's really
yeah.
it's
It really
the
is.
entrance to the Berkshires.
Right.
You got the hills and it's fun.
Plenty of woods, plenty
Yeah.
of farms. There's plenty of food, there's plenty of water.
When you
I
start
don't
looking
mind living here.
at mountains and things like that.
They can hide in here with no problem.
Yeah, and our mountains in the east are attainable. They're big. They're not really that big. They go from 1,000 to 6,000 feet. As far as Mount Washington goes. But you go out west and they go 10,000 feet. But it's more eye
And that's
candy.
minimal.
Yeah, but you're not. The average Joe ain't going up on these. On the Tetons climbing. That's
No.
a skill set of professionals and a different skill set. So
Right.
that's eye candy for 90% of the people. We have mountains that almost everybody can access here in the
Okay.
east. Big,
Mhm.
rounded, we have cliffs, we have that and this, but the Appalachian Trail is what, 2,200 miles, 2,100 miles? And it
Right.
goes through Maine and some of the most
Oh, yeah.
rugged country in New England.
Well, I'm proud to say.
My point is it's all accessible
Accessible,
without too
which
much-
is good.
without too much of an issue.
Well, they
You
run
have
right
some-
up through Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They run right up Pittsburgh, and
Yeah.
our claim to fame for the Appalachian Mountains is that we are the biggest city in the Appalachian Mountains, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say your other claim to fame is you're the rockiest state.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got the most rattlesnakes.
The
Oh,
rockiest
my
state.
goodness.
Yeah.
So, everybody, I did do some AI. I decided to finally cave into AI, and
Sweet.
I asked
Battle us
I
against
asked AI to give me some example questions.
Coffee, please.
Yes, and give me some questions to ask Eric and Tim. And boy, they gave me a lot of them.
Good.
And the questions that I asked are not. I mean, once you hear these questions, everybody, it wasn't my brain because I can't think of it. They're just too damn professional.
Oh,
But okay, on your personal experiences, can you share a time when you felt you were close to a Bigfoot sighting?
yeah. 18, 16.
18,
16.
16. Took a little trip.
That's when I saw mine, and I was 40 yards away, and I knew something was there. I knew
Okay.
something was off. Something was different from where I was standing,
Okay.
and that's when I happened to see it. So yeah,
That was in
2016.
Savoy State Forest.
Yep.
One
we
of
were
our
with 14
expeditions.
other people, and 2 of us saw it.
There's multiple
Did they
witnesses.
have a weird smell to it?
No, there was no smell. There was no smell when, the whole story goes back to hearing, when the group was walking in, the two guys that were behind us came up and said that they had whistling back behind us.
Mhm.
And then a father and son that was up in front of us, son came back and said that they had clacking or clapping up in front of them.
Could be
So we
rock
kind of
clapping.
just walked into the woods and spread out. And when I was standing on this little rock, I just it was kind of quiet because it had rained for like 4 days.
Mhm.
And that's when I turned and I'm looking, I says, well, what is this thing? It wasn't there a second ago. And there was a black thing standing there. And I kind of leaned. And when I leaned, it leaned. And when I stood up, it stood up. And that's when I knew I saw it.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
And I was 40 yards away.
How about
And
you,
it was,
Tim?
we went back
about
and
you?
had a 17-inch track with it. So it was
Holy
there.
crap, man.
So he
Wow.
was 40 yards away. Mine was night vision through a FLIR. We were about 100 yards away.
Yeah.
And we were in October Mountain State Forest at Felton Pond. Another expedition. We had a dozen or so people. God, I think 6 of us had FLIRs, and we were all watching this Bigfoot. Having said that, it was raining that night.
It's always
drizzly,
raining.
100 yards away, and for the night vision that we were using
that was maxed out.
Yeah, it was
We're right
taxed.
on the edge.
So,
Oh,
anyways, we're looking at this thing pacing back and forth on a log, and turns out to be go back a day later, and this is a 90-foot tree that had fallen, and this thing is pacing back and forth on this tree. So it went, 10 feet, goes back, 20 feet, goes back, 40, 30, blah, blah, blah. And it goes all the way to the very end of the tree. And then it jumps off, disappears into the woods. That was it.
But
And we're all watching it.
the whole
Oh,
time that thing was pacing back and forth,
You
a friend
smell
of
it.
ours,
Yeah.
Chuck, turns around and says, hey, do you smell that?
Yeah.
And you got a very faint musky smell, which we never had before. So that was the
Okay.
first time we've ever had the smell with what we believe was a Bigfoot.
Kind of smell like a wet,
It was
wet
just musky.
skin. Wet,
It wasn't nasty like everybody talked about it, but it was,
It was a deer
it was
wet,
just wet dog, whatever.
Yeah.
If
Musky
anybody in the chat room has a question for Eric and Tim,
Sure.
in fact, we got one right now.
Oh boy.
Okay, is there a difference between Bigfoot and Sasquatch? I've got answers all over the board and just wanted to hear your guys' opinions.
I believe it's one and the same. It's just a different name.
different name.
It's just a different name, just like it's called different across the country.
Donna calls them the Watchers. It depends on where you are in the country. A lot of folks here call them Sasquatch because Sasquatch is more of a traditional name. Bigfoot was coined back in, the 58, 60s
Right.
when they initially found the Bigfoot tracks. So hence the name Bigfoot. So that's kind of where it comes from for us.
It's one of the same.
I believe it's one of the same.
Okay, I
I
hope
do.
that helps you out, Kurt. But if
Sorry,
anybody else has any other
That's
questions,
the answer I can give you.
that's a good answer, though. That's good. That's the rule. So Donna talked about on Sunday about the electricity.
Yeah.
Have you guys?
Yeah. No, I've never experienced what she's talking about. I'm going to talk about, and maybe what a couple of the guys, Wojo, Richie B and Wojo, they had sent a clip to us one night, and they were off doing doing an investigation, and they had parts that they had sent back, and it asked Eric and I to go through it. And there was one section, and it sounded like an electrical hum, like you were near a power line or something like that. But that wasn't relevant to where this noise was taken. But it was sort of like that. I don't know if you've ever been near a power line and had that hum.
You just get the hum.
It's kind of like a vibratory hum, like a low vibratory, low frequency, vibratory hum, for the lack of better words.
But
Well, they do say that plants give out that type of noise. You know what I mean? If you're in the woods, I'm sure that the plants and the trees are humming. I wouldn't doubt it. I
Well,
totally believe that.
no, there's some truth to that.
I've heard that too.
They say the birds get up at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning and start chirping, and the frequencies are in tune with the flowers. And the that's what they say. And the flowers open up and are able to receive the birds a little better after a little, serenade in the morning.
That's kind of crazy.
And it's all
man.
frequency.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with normal. It's just frequency, noise, and how
that's
it's received.
Heidi says, yes, I'll bring it up for you. Yes, the hum or frequency. Yeah, you're right. Oh, the E tone, the tone. Yes, Heidi's very good at frequencies.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Donna had mentioned the hum, and she said it was a communication. I'm drawing a blank exactly what it was. I don't know if it was initiating telepathically or something in that regard. Maybe she could put it in the chat if she's still on. But I remember Wojo and those guys, and they heard the hum, and they said that the power lines and things like that weren't there, and they thought it was some sort of communication. And I believe that's what Donna said, was some sort of communication. Now, this stuff is...
Could it be?
I know, right?
It could be. Who knows?
It's out there, but we're talking about Bigfoot and weird stuff anyway, so why isn't that acceptable? As a potential source of...
Yes, Heidi.
So, you can't shut the door on any of this stuff.
Yeah.
You
got to be totally open-minded on it all, because who knows?
And some of it's pretty far out, but when there's some of it and there's a smidgen with truth potentially, you have to.
Yeah, when you're the one that's standing there and it's actually happening to you, and then you go to explain it to somebody that it's never happened
right.
to, you have to take it at face value. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Oh Lord, do I know when it came down to when I would go paranormal ghost hunting, you know what I mean? That's my biggie, was ghost hunting. Still is kind of, but it just seemed. But what I wanted to bring up to you is it possible that it could have been a UFO? And the reason why I say that, I am a firm believer that the UFOs are in cohorts with the Bigfoot. Like they open up portals for the Bigfoot to jump in and out.
It's a I'm more apt to go in that direction, where it's got some type of connection somewhere back there. Because I mean, when you're looking at something and it only takes one step and it's gone, where'd it go? It had to go somewhere. And when you got 14 people standing there, looking, where did it go?
No, Sean, I'll finish the Felton Pond, the Bigfoot story in Felton Pond.
Yeah.
Now this Bigfoot took off. This is going to lead right into your question.
You're talking about.
So this Bigfoot takes off and it disappears. Meanwhile we've smelt it, we've seen it. It took off.
Yeah.
And we figured that's about it, right? There was nothing going on.
Yeah, it was gone.
Dozen of us were heading around, and just as we're about to call it a night, hand to God, there is a pine tree, a white pine, probably 100 feet tall, for the sake of argument, on the end of this line or peninsula. And so where we're standing, it's the end tree, and it's 100 feet tall. And this is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's dark and it's raining, and all of a sudden, poof! This blue light, like your highlighted color here,
that light
like
blue.
where Kurt is up on top there, that blue light, that coloring, that crystal blue. That's what the color of the ball was, and it was kind of ginormous, 3-4 feet around, from 150 yards, 200, because the Bigfoot we were looking at through the FLIR was 100 yards away walking. This tree had to be 150 plus.
And you got 12
people,
14 people watching this thing happen.
So anyways, poof, in the middle of the night, this light pops on, this round ball, and it's halfway up this pine tree, It's 50 feet high.
Yeah.
And it's just sitting there. It's not really, shining out light like we've said before, like a flashlight. This is
Right.
a ball of light, and
It
it's
was
like a
emitted.
glow
It was
ball.
inside of itself. Yep.
Yeah, just like a glow ball. And it didn't illuminate or fluctuate or anything. It was just like the color you have. And it literally just went up the tree. So it went another 50 feet, never went around a limb.
No, just
or
went
anything,
straight
went
up.
Straight up. Got to the very top of that tree and then you counted. It was like 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4,
Gone.
gone. Done. And it was
So,
good.
to lead up to your question, yes, it could be.
It
So-
could be.
As much as we want to
I believe the
it's-
portal is a thing. They got to be able to. I think they can. When they're here, they're flesh and blood. But when they get scared or they think they're cornered or caught, I think that they can just
turn
pop
into
out.
energy and pop out. And that energy is the ball of
I
light
do
or the
believe
orb.
that. I mean,
Now,
that's
I hate to
crazy.
say stuff like that. It doesn't even sound
crazy
good
to
coming
think,
out of my
but-
lips.
See,
mean-
no, don't sound crazy at all. Lisa Kirk, hi, welcome for popping in tonight. For
Hello,
people who are just popping in, I got my
Hi.
friends Eric and Tim Vogel, who are Bigfoot experiencers and Bigfoot hunters, and they're my friends, and they're talking Bigfoot. Which I love.
Talking
Which I
Bigfoot.
love.
Yes, we are.
All right, I got another one of them
That was a good
questions for you,
question,
buddy.
though.
Yeah,
So
I
is
gotta
it
give-
possible orbs and, Bigfoot or aliens and things like that? Are they one and the
believe it.
same? We have
Yes.
2 Class A sightings, meaning 2 visual sightings, that
With orbs.
orbs are in the same story.
And one
within
was the
same
light
experience.
blue, and one was an orangish yellow.
2 years apart. And
Wow.
they were, so they're,
Two different color orbs, but both with the outcome of a Bigfoot.
and we had
So
tracks.
that's pretty
Cast.
wild. Yeah, and we had
It
cast
is
that both.
wild. Because I'll
October
tell you
mountain, there
what,
were six
because I
tracks.
tell you
but
what,
we were able to
because
cast
every time I read about a Bigfoot sighting, I always check to see how the UFO activity was happening in that area where the sighting took a place, right? And usually there's a lot of UFOs up in the air, you know what I mean, around there. I'm glad that you answered that because, that's I don't have to go down a rabbit hole for that one. I appreciate it.
Hey, we've actually experienced
Yeah.
it, and we were solid, hardcore flesh and blood.
Yeah.
We've got cast. We got 6 tracks. Something
Yeah.
left those tracks,
Something
And
had
we
to
were
be
suckers,
standing there.
and we cast them. And then all of a sudden, poof! But that's all you get. You get a 9-foot creature and one track.
It has
It's
to go somewhere.
gone, man. It's gone, dude. But another one of these AI questions.
Sure.
What was the most compelling piece of evidence you encountered, and how did it impact your belief?
I
need
would
to
say his
reset.
encounter.
The cast that we took from my encounter,
Yeah.
Okay.
that solidified what I was looking at was actually there.
Yeah. I mean, we had an experience in New York where we had tree shaking and roaring and all that
Right,
stuff.
but that was just noise.
And that was just us. This was, a dozen people, and they saw it and they witnessed,
Yeah,
different
yeah.
other things with it. The following day, we went back to cast it, and we were met with a roar at the
Yeah,
very
but
beginning of the road,
Yeah, roar, scream right at the beginning.
just like we had
Wow.
a number of years ago in New York.
Definitely a warning, a warning yell.
Oh hell
There's
yeah!
no
There was
doubt about
nothing. There's nothing like that up here. Does that?
And we
stuff
still
up here.
went in and took the cast.
I know it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
No, that's,
yeah,
it was
they probably strategically placed about 5 or 6 around you. Like, go ahead. don't
Probably.
go any
They
further.
saw the
Crazy.
They saw it. We
But
went
I
up the
would say,
following
yeah.
day, built a birch bark.
That's
You
the
know,
little
covering.
things.
No.
Right.
I'm talking about when we went up for yours. And we covered it because it was raining, and we had met a buddy
Yes.
of ours who met us at the
Yes.
at
At
the entrance
the
at one of the
entrance.
dirt roads.
That's when we heard the yell.
Yeah, and that
Wow,
was
that's
just
crazy.
unreal. Yeah, and that's not a characteristic
But
thing.
that was when I had the print to go with what I saw
Okay.
and what I teeter-tottered back and forth with. That said that what I saw was actually there.
At 40 yards, you got to know what you're looking at.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And with professional guides like you guys, I mean, come on.
Well,
Who would
two of
not
us
want to
saw it.
believe you?
Yeah, two of us saw it at the exact same time.
Not me. Another guy saw it. Him and Eric.
You know, there was a tree laying down, and he saw the legs move. And when the legs moved is when I saw him teeter-totter back and forth with me. It was just moving.
Right.
And when he turned sideways,
Wow.
that's when I knew what I was looking at.
But that's
In
the
your
most compelling.
But that's
Okay.
we have the evidence. We have the track to prove that it was actually standing there.
We've had numerous other things and
Oh, we had rocks and
experiences.
stuff,
but-
never thought about taking the rock. You know,
Yeah, that was the most compelling, without a doubt.
What's that?
the track. That was the
Okay.
most compelling.
When Donna was on Sunday night, she was saying that there were different clans of Bigfoot.
I've heard that too.
What do you think of that?
I just don't call them clans. It's not the way I talk. Her verbiage, the way she talks, is clans.
Right.
I think there's different groups, clans,
Families.
groups, families, things like that. Different
Yeah.
family units.
All means the same, but yeah. I mean, just like us, we're all, different families, different groups
Right.
They're
around
very-
the country.
I think they're very few and far between. I don't think there's
Yeah.
lots of them. It's just if there was lots of them, you'd have more reports.
You would think
And
you'd
you
think
just
you'd have
don't.
more sightings.
So I think they're few and far between, and it's like scratching a lucky ticket when you do happen to see something like that.
Yes, Cindy.
Why
it
are
was.
they afraid to show themselves to us? What are they afraid of, do you think?
No, I wish I could answer that honestly. Because they could
I
just
don't
stand up
know.
at 9 feet tall and squish you.
Well, maybe they're afraid to show themselves when you're with a group of people, because there are a number of people
Yeah.
that have
Oh.
one-on-one encounters.
Sure. Ernie
Some of
Devereaux.
them are within feet of each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. Ernie's was a
One
5-foot
of the
encounter.
one of the stories that we heard,
Yeah.
when the guy was sitting on the rock and he heard all these noises, and when he turned around, it was right there, face to face,
Oh, Jim.
on the
Wow.
documentary that we had. It was insane.
It's yeah,
So you really got, when the documentary comes out, you really got to check it out, because
ended up being Wolf.
it was unbelievable.
Yeah. He's-
Heidi says, I've heard that there are several different clans from several people.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Kason, who lives in Sri Lanka, is my buddy. He says, if Bigfoot is real, why haven't we found any bones? Like, does he bury his dead or vanish into thin air?
It's a
They
good
don't
question.
vanish into thin air. The bones,
Yeah.
Mother Nature will
Consume it.
consume that in 7 to 14 days. The thing is already going. Tim watched it out here all winter.
I sent some photos out to my buddies after a coyote took down a deer. It took 4 days for that deer to disappear completely. Even the hair. The crows took the hair that was still.
Yeah.
Let me back up. The deer ran out onto the pond. It was a big pond right out here by the house. And the coyotes got her, splayed her out, ate her up. And it took 4 days to dispose of that body completely.
Yep.
I noticed it because there was 2 eagles out there. I thought it was 2 trash cans moving around, big black trash cans blowing around. And but it ended up being eagles. I had to walk it out there and they took off. I said, oh. So anyways, I get out there and I find this. So I took some pictures and counted the days. I went out daily to check it out. And 4 days that thing was gone. And that's the middle of winter. So if you take the heat and temperature of a something dying in temperate, we'll call it
not gonna
temperate
last.
temperatures, where bugs and things like that can come into play. They decompose so fast, it's not funny.
That's one theory.
Yeah.
The other theory
Okay.
is, if you're still on the concept of the UFO and the black hole or whatever. If they die, they could take them through that, and you never would have a body.
There's that, and
Ah,
that's
and you know what? I'll go with number 2, dude. I'll go with what.
Well,
Eric
it's a
said there.
possibility.
There's others
Yeah.
that say they bury their dead. I would love to see the proof.
Right.
There's a lot of things they could do. I try to keep everything. I try to keep Bigfoot in the animal kingdom. If another animal can do it within that realm of species, then a Bigfoot could do it. Using it as a tool like an ape or something like that. Could they
Right.
make a hunting weapon? Are they smart enough to choose natural pinches in geography or
I think they can
catch
do
deer,
what
things
all
like
the
that.
other animals can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Their weapons, their accuracy with a rock has to be incredible.
But as far as lasting and bones and things like that, why would they let? They just don't.
Yeah.
I'm a ranger, worked out outdoors my entire life. Eric's been outdoors his entire life, and we were guides out in the wilderness for most of that time.
You very rarely come across a pile of bones.
Yeah, very seldom. And the ones we do is usually a kill that's brought down, and they're still taking it.
So
the mice will take those.
There's a lot of answers to that question, but
I'm going to keep it in a naturalist perspective, and I would say that they wouldn't last that long anyway, regardless. Okay. Forget all the other options
Mother
out
Nature
there.
is going to take it out.
Mother Nature will take it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Lisa Kirk says
will.
maybe they avoid us because they've seen what people are actually capable of.
You're absolutely right.
absolutely on that one. But so
yeah, we could be like a fishbowl. They're just checking us and look at that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Keep going.
So how about I know Richie and Mojo and even Donna talk about, I guess, their huts. Okay, what do they call them?
Yeah, the stick structures
or the tree thingies. Yeah, do you have a lot around there?
Yes, there are a lot of tree thingies. What those thingies are, I don't really know.
Okay.
But there are people. There are a large amount of people that put emphasis into these tree structures, and whether it's a sign of communication or they're going to hide or hunt or use it as a blind and things like that. There are other animals that build blinds and do things like that, so it's very possible. The trapdoor spider comes up and whack, you're done. You don't even know it till he's there. So do animals do it? The simplest of creatures do it. So a Bigfoot could do it. Okay. In my book, I'm not going to limit. It's like putting limits on God, the creator. If you're a God guy,
when we went up to
time, space, and
to Richie and Wojo's, they had a couple of things that were questionable. Yeah. Like one of the things that I had found was almost like a made tunnel, and the way that it was done, it just wasn't a tree. It's hard to imagine the tree came down and did this. It was
something did.
Something had to make this thing to look like a tunnel. So,
in short, it has to be very intriguing to capture our attention. Yeah. So it has to have twists.
Sean, you come up here and we'll take you out in the woods and we'll show you a million of them.
That would be great. I'll come up and y'all protect my ass, man. You know what I mean? That's all.
Take care of it. You got
it. Heidi has a question. The tri-tree thingies, why aren't those everywhere Bigfoot has been seen?
Like the triangle thingies, there's
I think
there's different things they call glyphs. They have X's. There's different structures. They're, big, large things.
But what are they for? I mean, they say that they tell direction, or they say stay away from here.
Yeah,
well, that means that there has to be quite a few of them coming through. Otherwise, why would you even have it?
Right.
You know, it's like it would be
Thank
like
you,
our
Lisa.
highway. You know,
Thank you,
I don't
Lisa. I
know.
appreciate
Kinda-
that. Lisa will protect me. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. But just
Yeah, in order for communication to work, you have to have
there
somebody
has to be a
saying it
reason for it.
and a receiver. And if
Right.
you're just randomly out building X's, or the woods are just knocking down trees and there's a bunch of X's, I can show you that.
Yeah.
So
Right.
what is relevant and what is not relevant is my question as far as X's in the woods. What
There
makes
has
this
to, yeah.
more than that?
And we
Other
have a
than-
lot of them, believe me.
Other than like the obvious where it's like, a tree trunk that somebody took from a birch bark tree and put it in a pine forest and it's like, oh, okay, that's odd. It's a
Right.
completely different tree or something like that. That's
Right.
interesting. But there's so much natural stuff, and nature will do the damnedest things to fool you and just say, how, what?
There are some
How did
ones
that happen?
that Richie and Wojo had that almost looked like a wagon wheel.
Oh no, those
Yeah.
are glyphs
And that-
and
I
things
saw,
like
that was
that.
really
I saw
cool.
those pictures. Yeah, I saw those
I mean,
pictures.
that's really cool
That's
because
catches your
that's not
attention.
natural, you know.
That was huge.
That was
here-
really that was good.
Here's
So we're on the
another
fence
AA
with wood
person.
structures. We're on the fence with wood structures. We understand
Yeah.
that there's potential for communication and other uses.
There's always potential. There's always
we just got to see them
just
doing
gotta
it.
stay open minded, even on that.
You have to. In the paranormal field, no matter if it's cryptids, UFOs, Bigfoot, you have to
just
have
never
it.
know.
And besides that, there's too many people that have accepted this as something,
Right.
as a thing. So to deny what they say is kind of
Yeah, that's crazy.
wild.
You know,
Yeah, so it's worth research. That's what we do.
and that's what we're doing, research.
And
Yeah, we don't know. We keep plugging away.
You know, and now we're
and
finding
that's
out
all
some of
that
the
matters.
things.
If it wasn't for you
Right.
guys,
Well,
and
that's how we.
Richie and Wojo and Donna, come on, you know.
Well,
what I
that's
mean?
how we just found out about the Colorado thing.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
three
Sharing
quarters of the way
information.
across the country, we're sharing information now and finding out that things are happening here. Same things happening down there.
People
That's
are
crazy, isn't it?
experiencing and telling their story
Yeah.
to a documentary maker, filmmaker, and he's coming up here and saying, "Hey, Tim, Eric, these people in Colorado had almost mirror-like situations.
Same
things that happen.
Same creature doing the same thing,
So
just
there's-
in a different place.
Rock throwing, stick throwing,
Yeah.
whoops, knocks, things like that.
So,
Different things, the way different people do the research, the way they approach their research. Some people are going in, whacking trees and wood knocking and whooping. And, that's how everything started, is getting out there whooping and knocking and trying to elicit a response. Now people are going in the woods and just sitting down and being quiet.
sometimes
Yeah.
doing
I say-
nothing is the best thing to do.
Yeah. We've had
I agree.
experiences.
And you know what else is? Not even going out to look for them. Just go and sit, enjoy nature.
Yeah. Sitting.
And you'll
Just
get
go and sit.
So we've
They
Heidi
already
wants to
know
know
you're
what-
there.
what town in Colorado. She wants to know.
He was out in Bailey.
yeah, Bailey.
Bailey, I can't remember the name of the place that they were at when they
No,
did their
well-
filming, but Bailey, Colorado.
Yeah. We don't want to give too many details.
No,
No.
Yeah,
He'll have
Probably
it
will
all.
be
It-
on
when it comes out, it'll be a good documentary because
Oh, I'll be definitely.
and that's how
are
you
you going
share
to be in the
information.
documentary?
That was really cool to find out.
You're going to be in that
Sorry?
documentary? You're going to be in the
No,
documentary?
we're not in the documentary.
No.
No, they're bullshit. They should do a documentary on you guys and Mojo and
Yeah.
Richie D and all them. Man.
Someday, who
Hey,
knows?
I got
Yeah,
another
Maybe
one of
someday.
these AI questions for you. We're
Who
running
knows?
pretty
Maybe
close. on
someday.
time.
We
Yeah.
had-
Another
Yeah.
AI question.
Another AI. And I have about two more. All right. How do you feel about the debate surrounding Bigfoot and its potential as a hoax or a misidentification?
What was that again?
The difference between a hoax or a misidentification. What do you think is the more? I think it's probably more misidentification.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think there's a
Okay,
lot
cool.
of people running around hoaxing people. I think there's on a fun local level, maybe there's a few people messing with people.
But when you're 4 or 5 miles out into the woods, if
no one's messed.
guy wants to come out there and hoax me, go for it.
Yeah, really, bring it.
Dumbass. Yeah. Heidi says she was up in Roosevelt National Park in the Rockies and saw a weird tree structure thingy. All good. I'll be watching for it. That town is up in the mountains. I know where that is. Not close to me at all. Not close to her at all.
Yeah, the folks out there, there's a lot of activity.
Jim Myers out there. That's he runs the Sasquatch outpost.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
Check
you're
him
out
out.
there, you got to stop in. That's a really nice guy.
Yeah. They have a
And,
podcast at Sasquatch Outpost.
But it's amazing at the similarities that you'll have even out there to hear.
Yeah, experiences wise, people having the
experience-wise,
same
the people.
experiences.
Yep.
Same things that are
Unbelievable.
happening.
Pretty cool.
So it's wood knocking
so-
isn't a weird.
Who
Go ahead.
I mean,
Heidi.
the credibility of evidence. And this will be your last question because we're getting close.
Sure.
Do you? Okay, let me see. I just saw. How do you? You just said it, so we're done with that one. How do you reconcile the lack of definite proof with the widespread belief in Bigfoot? Do you want me to read that again?
You mean like why don't more people have more
Is there-
defined proof?
You're looking for more evidence. There's people out there that have pictures. There's people like us that have prints. Well, I mean,
Witnesses, eyewitnesses.
if you
empirical
go with
evidence.
right, if you take what happened during the event and you have a print to go along with that event, I don't know. In my book, 1 and 1 is 2.
Oh, no, you're right. Because a lot of times that I would do investigations with the paranormal. And if I'm having a personal experience with something,
Right.
whoever's with me, I tell them, take the picture. And usually if it's a legit one, they catch something on film, so.
And when
It's-
something
it's
like that
kind-
happens, it happens.
I know
It
what you're
happens
talking
so-
about.
Sorry. It happens so fast that you don't really even, you're not even thinking about taking a picture. That's why having a GoPro is great.
Right.
The question up
Okay.
there is, are Bigfoot territorial? I don't know. I think they have such a huge, vast space for territory that them encounters would be very low in number. Other encounters where they have to beat each other up to get a deer or
Yeah.
something. I don't think they're
don't-
that.
That's a good question too. I would say yes, but then
Maybe-
again, maybe not.
maybe for breeding purposes.
Yeah.
But I don't think territorial meaning this is I don't know. I don't know how
Right,
to
because
really,
they roam.
yeah.
They're not just sitting in one place, so they roam. So, I mean, could they be territorial? I'm sure they could.
Maybe why
Right.
the states don't recognize mountain lions because
Right.
they'd have to
They roam.
recognize territory, more space, and
Mhm.
laws would be changed, and
Yeah.
building codes would be changed, and building areas would, things like that. So things would be changed. So when these things show up and are actually recognized, they might have to be managed.
And
in
Jean's
some-
a good one to talk about big cats because if there's a question, she
Oh,
can answer that.
Okay. I do want to get her on the show, and I'll talk. She's a friend of mine on Facebook.
He'll be speaking at the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival,
Yep.
June 7th. Russell.
And you know what? That was my last question of the evening.
Oh, there you go. We're like,
Now, could you
same.
please tell everybody what's coming up for you two and what it's all about and where it's located?
good.
Start.
So June 7th, this June 7th, 25 days away, we're having the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival. And that is going to be 12 speakers, food vendors, musicians, a bunch of other kind of
Oh, yeah,
entertainment.
climbing wall.
Yeah, there's going to be a blacksmith.
shop.
Really cool. We got blacksmithing and Bigfooting going on. You're going to go in there and do
But
some branding.
we have some great
Climbing wall.
investigators out of New England coming from all the New England states.
Yeah.
It's really
Okay.
going to be it's going to be good. It's going to be something to it's the first annual festival, and I think it's going to be a hell of a good one.
Yeah,
Because we do have 12 great speakers coming in, and it covers everything from Bigfoot, UFO, ghosts, everything, the whole 9 yards.
we wanted the festival to focus on New England and New England speakers, and that's exactly what we did. We've got New England covered, and it's going to be a good time. 12 speakers, Bigfoot and weekend, camping,
Smart
the whole
move,
thing.
man.
Right. And you
One
got to
day
get
I'll
your
get up
tickets
there.
online at
Right.
Eventbrite.
Yeah.
You'll see our
Okay.
posts on
Yeah, you can only get the tickets online.
share them, post, like them, all
Oh,
that good
yeah.
stuff.
Time's ticking down.
More importantly, get out here to Russell, Mass on June 7th.
Yeah, come on out.
You heard that, everybody. Oh, Tim, my shows should be an extra half hour
Thank you, Heidi.
because we could have talked so much more. But you know what? Thank you guys for being on. Please hang around after the show ends. I'd like to chat a little bit more with you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank again, Eric and
See
Tim,
you, everybody.
Thank you very much. But don't forget, everybody, CL Thomas, she has her Gateway podcast coming up right after me. Children, if you can, please go to your parents, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And parents, please go to your children, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And if you have no parents and if you have no children, find somebody, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. Because those 3 words, I love you, go a long way. And on that note, good night, everybody, and see you Sunday night.